Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gatha Nautiyal, and I'm the research assistant here at ICM. I welcome you all to this consultation on a very pertinent and important topic, pathways for aligning skill mapping with international labor market, London edition. I welcome Under Secretary OIA1, Shri Sanjeev Kumar, our esteemed speakers, Dr. Sandeep Singh Kaura, Advisor to the Chief Minister, Government of Punjab, Skills Development and Technical Education, Mr. Arvind Francis, Assistant Secretary General, FICCI, Mr. Karan Sharma, Director, Qatar Manpower Agency, and Professor Aarti Srivastav from National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, and all those who have joined us here today. Before we begin, I would like to make a few announcements. We have a very informative session ahead, and to make it fruitful and outcome-oriented, I would like to request all of you to keep your mics on mute until you are invited to speak. I request all attendees, participants to use the chat box to post questions they would like to pose to the speakers, and if possible, to identify the speakers whom it has been addressed. So with these introductory remarks, I would now like to invite Shri Sanjeev Kumar, Under Secretary OIA1, to deliver his welcome remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Gatha. Thank you for handing over the floor. Good afternoon, distinguished speakers, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this virtual stakeholders consultation on pathways for aligning skill mapping with international labor market, Northern Edition. I highly appreciate ICM's efforts for holding this discussion on a topic of such a relevance and significance. In the current era of changing demographics and technological advancements such as automation and digitization, the global labor market is continually evolving. As we are witnessing, these developments have rendered some occupation obsolete, but at the same time have led to an expansion of opportunities across the various sectors in new destinations. The skills and competencies required for the new labor market are also evolving in tandem with these changes. In present time of constant transformation, skilling and upskilling of our workforce has become more important than ever before. India, with an average age of 29, has a unique potential to develop a high quality workforce for the domestic as well as international labor market. Recognizing this aspect, the Government of India, through its several initiatives, has been proactively working toward developing skills and technical expertise of prospective migrants across various sectors in the country. The Ministry of External Affairs, the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, and the National Skill Development Corporation have been working co-jointly towards the goal of making India the skill capital of the world. In this context, the Pravasi Kaushal Vikas Yojana is a crucial skilling initiative that aims to provide skill training and certification to Indian workers interested in seeking overseas employment in specific sectors. Additionally, the collaboration on India-EU Common Agenda on Migration and Mobility enhance understanding of the India-EU corridor and has resulted in a number of bilateral agreements that are aimed at providing better opportunities for Indians in Europe. Recently, mobility partnerships have also been signed with countries like United Kingdom and Portugal. These mobility partnerships emphasize the commitment of the Government of India to cooperate on skills with new emerging destinations for labor migration. All the aforementioned efforts are indicative of the fact that skilling and training have become critical component of government initiative in achieving sustainable growth. As seen in the past consultation organized by ICM, skill mapping, skill matching, and accreditation have emerged as constant takeaways. In this context, the northern region of India still has a lot of potential that can be realized through increased collaboration between government bodies, skilling institutes, recruiting agencies, and other stakeholders. Through this stakeholder engagement, I hope we will be able to chart out strategies to explore and increase the avenues for administering skilling as per requirement of destination countries and garner insight into the future of skilling and training. I look forward to hearing your perspective and deliberation, and I once again welcome you all to the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now, may I please request our moderator for the day, Dr. Surbhi Singh, to take over and start with the discussion, please.
Thank you, Gatha. A very warm good afternoon to everyone present today. We have done 3 consultations in the past on the same subject as part of a regional skill mapping series. And today marks one of the last of that endeavor, where we are focusing on the northern region of the country. Previously, we have looked at the western part of the country, the southern part of the country, and the eastern part of the country. And as a result of these deliberations, some crucial points have emerged. One is that we need state-wise, country-wise mapping, that, to ensure that not all parts of the country are equally equipped in the same kind of sectors or professions. So we need a clear strategy on mapping which part of the country is suited for which occupation and which destination country. Second, we need training as per international standards. And it is our endeavor that the bulk of the certification requirements are taken care of here in India itself. And lastly, there is the increased focus and importance on building India as a brand. The importance of making Indian workers known globally as law-abiding, as hardworking. They're already doing that. We need to provide more popularity to all of these. So today's discussion, while focusing on northern parts of the country, is an endeavor in the same direction to sort of analyze where the northern states of the country stand. And it is our great pleasure that we have amongst us Dr. Sandeep Singh Kaura, who is advisor to the Chief Minister, Government of Punjab. And his appointment as advisor to Chief Minister is the first of its kind in India. He has experience with 2 successive governments. Dr. Kaura has over 21 years of rich experience in the field of skill development and technical education, and he has many firsts to his credit. He is an MBA and fellow from University of Oxford and doctoral research fellow from ISB Hyderabad. Under his stewardship, Government of Punjab has set up a foreign study and employment cell to facilitate the mobility of Punjab to foreign countries through skilling and education under the government-to-government partnership. We had the pleasure of interacting with Dr. Kaura in the past, also in the recently held state launch of the PDO handbook for Indians going to Europe. But we are more keen to hear his thoughts on skilling. So over to you, sir. And after that, we'll move on to the next panelist. You have about 10 to 15 minutes to share your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Surbhi, and officials from the Ministry of External Affairs, my co-speakers in this sessions, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, a very warm good afternoon to one and all present here. Wonderful, to have this session today, and this session particularly is relating to skill mapping for overseas requirement, particularly the requirement of foreign countries. So this is one area where we have in our state of Punjab, if you look at most of our young workforce, their first priority is to go abroad. And they are migrating in the past also. There is a complete, if we look at ecosystem there, where the young workforce or young people from Punjab, they are migrating. So what we have done in our state, because this is one of the area which is very important for our state. So we have worked on a model which is particularly relating to the skilling of young workforce from India to enhance the overseas migration outcome. So I would, would like to show you a couple of slides around that model which we have been working and we have developed, and we have already created a draft policy around it. And once the after the elections, we are going to get a cabinet approval around it, and we have sent the similar model to the government of India also. So just I'll take you through few slides, and I have 10 minutes. So within that time frame, I'll take you. So my office is just sharing the slideshow. So the focus here, if you look at, can you see the slides, Surabhi? Is it visible?
Yes, yes, very much.
Yeah, so this is on designing of a robust system of skilling of young workforce from India to enhance the overseas migration outcomes. So our thought is, if you look at, just some technical glitches there. It was visible there. It is not visible to me. Yeah, it is there now. Can you see?
Yes, very much.
So this is around this system of skilling, and this is very well gel with our topic of the day today, pathway for aligning skill mapping with international labor market. So what is the thought process? If you look at here, when the data points, next. Yeah. So this, we all are aware about the data points. I will not go through the data points. There were certain slides, but if you look at in this slide, we are one country which, after meeting our own requirement, we are there to provide a surplus manpower to meet the global skill shortages. We have other countries also where there is a more population, but we are one of the country, as per this slide, which can, after meeting our own requirement, can supply workforce to the foreign countries. Now, if you look at this slide, this gives some idea about how many people are migrating. So if you look at, there are about around 15 lakh, people moving both for study visa and for, on the basis of the wage employment. But if you look at the number, number is not that large. Seeing the size of our family, our India, our population of our country, 1.26 billion people, this number is not very large. But if you see the quantum of the outward remittances from moving out of our country, that is close to about 51 billion, on the basis of the fee, boarding, lodging. And at the same time, data shows that inward remittances are also good, 79 billion. So what our focus area is, that we should focus on lowering down the outward remittances. So if you look at state of Punjab, now we have around 150,000 students moving every year, through legal pathway, and there is an equal number through illegal also. Some data points we try to get it from our state. So majorly receiving countries are also there. Here also, if you look at 9.1 billion is the outward remittances on the basis of the study cost which student is paying outside country, and also on the account of boarding and lodging, whereas what we are getting in our state is about 12.2 billion. So here, if I say we are getting 3 billion, as a top up against the remittances of outward and inward. But the focus here is that number going is not very large. The point here is what we need to do. We need to set up a mechanism where these young people moving, who want to go abroad, there should be a proper system so that they can move freely. So what is that system? We need to focus on that. So if you look at this point, move next. Yeah, so this is what we want is, the based on our pathways, we want that skilling to reduce the cost of skilling and migration process, to reduce the lead time, right, of skilling and migration process, to maximize the yield and to minimize the risk. These are four objectives of having a system which we should design for skilling leading to the overseas migration. How that can happen, and that is the main focus area, that we in India, we are not, we can't afford to test a model, by just launching it. We know India International Skills Centers were launched, but the desired results were not there. So we want a model which is properly tested, tried, and then we may, do it at a national level. So this, having these objectives in mind for designing a model which can be a sustainable model, there is a proper research being conducted by the government of Punjab and by Indian School of Business, where we want to come out with a model based on, testing both the current model of migration, how people are moving, there are enough people moving out, how we can build a model, new model, wherein sustenance is there, cost, lead time, yield, and risk is kept in mind. Yeah, if you look at now the next slide, what is the current model? I'm just taking you one country, UK. So how people move currently? They move through study, right, or through the high skilled work permits. And those who go on study, some of them, get the employment, some of them may not get the employment, though they get work permit. On the basis of high skilled category, there are also some people are getting underemployment. So this is a way, and some are moving illegally. So current model of migration is this. If you look at the model which we are proposing here, I want to just request your attention of all my members here. If you look at the model which we are proposing, that we have to set our country as a supply chain for supply of workforce to the foreign country. So what we need is, we need to have a G2G association, government to government, wherein our government will provide basic infrastructure, student mobilization, and the cost of training as per international requirement. We don't want, that we will pay as per our own, Indian cost. We would go by what they want us from us. We are there. And other support, that is our government responsibility. Foreign countries will help us in identifying international training partners who can come to our state, our country, set up a training infrastructure which is as per their requirement, as per the requirement of country of destination, and training of the students, certification, and employment, because they will have a backward connect with the industry there. So this is the role of international training partner and international certification agencies, to train people in our state and in our country, and send them to the foreign countries on a work permit. So that is a thought process wherein both the government will have their own do's and don'ts, and around this model we are setting up an international skill development center in Punjab, wherein we have tied up with government of Canada, we have tied up with UK government, so that they can help us in providing the international agencies who can come and train people in our state. Parallelly, we will build our capacity, so that by the time in a year or two, we will have our own capacity built around it. So main highlights of the model is G2G partnership, leveraging existing VET infrastructure, employment assurance, high probability of visa approvals, and reduced cost of training. If you look at a candidate going to Canada, spending close to about 40 to 50 lakh to procure a work permit. But if a candidate spend about 5 lakh in India to train, to skill, will get the work permit here while being in India, and then can go to the desired destination country on a work permit. That is a thought process wherein under G2G model we want these things to happen. So this was a model where we were working, but we wanted to test the model empirically, that how this our model and the existing model of migration, what are the benefits of this model and what are the weakness of the existing model. That is on the basis of that we wanted to develop a model, and that is why I said a study is being conducted around it, wherein ISB and government of Punjab is using, and we are using some scientific tools also, having understanding the process mapping of the current model and the proposed model, how both of them can help the candidate on reducing the cost of the infrastructure, the cost of the training. This is a main focus area, cost of skilling, to reduce the lead time. Today a nurse want to go to UK will take about 2 years to reach to UK, or may not be able to get a job there. But with our model, we want them to be trained here, upskilled here as per UK requirement, and go there within a shortest possible time and at a less cost, with more yield. More and more people should get jobs there, and risk should be reduced. That is a focus area of a model which we have been working in Punjab, and we have tested this model with the existing model and the proposed model based on all these four parameters. And that is how we are looking forward for designing a robust system, because currently what is important is we have discussed this topic has already been discussed, due diligence have been done, but now there is a need to develop a model around it, and that is the main key to make India as a skill capital of the world. I've shown you a data, 15 lakh people moving out of our country, and state level you have seen the data. Number look very large, but vis-a-vis our size of our population, this number is not that big. We need to evolve a model around it so that India can become a supply chain of highly skilled workforce to the country of destination under G2G model. So that's the thought process around it. And that was just a brief about the model which I wanted to just take you through through these slides. We have done a lot of work around it, but yes, yeah, you can remove the slideshow. So that's the thought process around this. And in the end, I just want to first of all congratulate ICM for organizing this session, and we look forward for further deliberation on how this ground level model, which in a Punjab state we are working, so that if it is successful, once we will launch the skill center based on the real life experience, we would then replicate this model at the national level also, and so that we may get the desired result. So with these words, I want to thank the organizer for inviting me for this session. Thank you very much, Ruby.
Thank you, Dr. Kaura. That was indeed very enlightening for all of us to know that Punjab is actually developing a model to see how the skilling infrastructure can be made robust. And some very important points that emerged out of the intervention made by you is that the cost of skilling needs to be brought down, because that is one of the challenges people face while trying to go abroad, and to ensure employability, and also to know that there is an international skill center being developed in Punjab. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions directed at you towards the end. But I now move towards the next speaker, Mr. Arvind Francis. Mr. Francis has been associated with FICCI for the last 6 years and is currently working in the capacity of Assistant Secretary General. He is also the Executive Director for All India Organizations of Employers. He represents AIOE in all tripartite meetings held at the Ministry of Labor and Employment, as well as at ILO and other IOE forums. So over to you, Mr. Francis.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope I'm audible.
Indeed you are. Please go ahead.
Okay. So thank you, ICM, for providing me this opportunity, and Shri Sanjeev Ji and Dr. Surbhi Singh, moderator for this session, and all distinguished speakers and all the participants. I must first congratulate Sandeep ji for this excellent presentation that he made. And it's of course an honor and privilege to share my thoughts on this platform on pathways for aligning skill mapping with international labor market. If you see currently the how the world, I mean, there are a lot of prevalent forces which are changing the world of work and having a deep impact in the international labor market. So these forces are, I mean, like disruptions which was caused by COVID-19 pandemic, change in technology. There is the distribution of age profile across the globe, climate change, etc. So the if you see the basically the pull factor for migration is one is of course the shortage of skilled labor, and then there are some push factors which include like violence, conflict, poverty, political instability in the country, etc. So I was just going through one EY Migration Attractiveness Index, and that carried out that as a part of global skill gap report portrayed that countries uh, including GCC countries, European countries, and countries in East are considered to be the best suited for Indians for overseas deployment. So, and we can also see that most of the Indians who are basically migrating, it's mostly to the GCC countries. So it has been arrived after looking the global migration attractive index coupled with Indian migration attractive index, that the composite index giving the countries ranking based on the same. There are 5 countries which is of attractiveness like UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Germany, and Japan. And once they are migrating, it has been seen that one is that skills is of prime importance, because equipping the workforce with the skills that is required for the jobs of today and tomorrow is a strategic concern in the national growth and development of outlooks of all countries. The globalization of markets is accelerating the diffusion of technology and the pace of innovation. New occupations are emerging and replacing others. Within each occupations, required skills and competencies are evolving as the knowledge content of production processes and servicing is rising. So most of our migrants in India, if we see, they are from Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Goa, and in the north it is Punjab. And if you see, the migration pattern is also very different for all the respective states. So most of the migration that has happened is with the GCC country, as I said, and it is estimated that there are around 9 million Indians who are employed in GCC countries, and major sectors of employment include construction, tourism, health, etc. And now the labor policies, if you see in these GCC countries due to this COVID and emerging scenario, has also changed. And now the labor markets focusing more on the healthcare, IT, logistics, teleworking. We held a overseas conference here in Fiki, and then we found out that the emerging skill sets which are there are like artificial intelligence, e-commerce, and automation fields have taken over most of the employment opportunities. Future employment will be mostly based on creative skills. The children, young adults should be trained according to the modern and latest methods, and also learning extra new languages will be good in the future jobs related to technology, will be given more importance. 2 important skills which are going to be important are in the health sector, and digitalization of economies and digital industry is now becoming extremely important. So skills are to be required for the areas in technology such as automation, artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud computing, data analytics, Internet of Things, 3D computing, etc. And we are aware of that Japan is the 3rd largest economy, and with robust laws and institutions, Japan is having a aging population, and the birth rate is also on the decline. So there's a lot of scope in, and I think India and Japan, they have also signed SSW. So currently there are around 40,000 Indians who are residing in Japan, out of which 12,500 are skilled professionals, 5,500 are engaged on skilled labor, and 2,000 are students. So Japanese language is one of the barrier. If anyone wants to migrate to Japan, so language is seen as one of the area where we need to train all the Indians who want to migrate to not only Japan, but even in the EU countries. We have found that language is one very critical area. And India is now entering into bilateral agreements with various countries. Um, and recently it has entered with UK, and just now we heard that they also have entered into a partnership with Portugal and France. So when we talk about Germany now, the skill sets, what they have done is they have identified 50 priority professionals, and they have identified them into different categories: the skilled workers, the specialists, and the experts. And they have identified the job roles that are required. For the skilled, they say they should have a vocational training on a comparable qualification recognized in Germany. Metalworking, machine tools, setters and operators, blacksmiths, hammersmiths, foreign press workers, welders, flame cutters, electrical mechanics, fitters. So these are all technical skill set which is required. Now for specialists also, they have identified areas like electrical engineering technicians, electronics, engineering technicians, system analytics, software developers, and for experts also in the areas of general medical practitioners, pharmacists, computer network professionals, etc. So, but the problem is that there is a lot of qualification mismatch among the immigrants to the European countries in comparison to workers who are already resident in these countries. And this has been highlighted. The immigrants, they are at a vulnerable position, and typically it's in the labor market. So many times high levels of overqualification among migrants are also partly the result of a lack of recognition of their skills. So in the Indian context, if we see, the biggest challenge is how we establish credibility of our Indian workers. We need to create a brand for Indian workers and show their credibility and creativity at the international level. The competency level, the professionalism, skill sets should be built up to match the requirement of the country set. Now, what role industry associations or chambers that can play? One is, of course, when Sandeep was saying about the government to government, uh, I mean, agreements and collaboration should be there. So, or once the MOUs are signed, the chambers and associations, they can also leverage their collaboration with the overseas industry and industry associations, Indian manpower companies. And we also need to identify which are the high demand jobs and map the required skill sets for all those high demand jobs. And we need to, again, as Surbi, when she was setting the context, she said that how we can do the state-wise and country-wise mapping, which are suited for international standards. So that also we need to actually look into, and then train the manpower on the country-specific language, mindset, and culture. And even the recruitment and placement agencies, they can also play a major role if they also connect with the destination countries and with their recruitment and placement counterparts, and can work on placing the migrants. And a digital portal may be where job seekers and job providers may come together, and it may facilitate the whole migration process. We can also think of replicating the national skills passport as it is in Sri Lanka. These skills passports are basically these smart cards which are issued to skilled person having the national vocational qualification, at least a year of experience. And this card is basically connected to a fully online system which connects different stakeholders such as employees, employers, qualification body, and labor market intermediaries. So National Skills Passport serves the long-standing issue of recognition of skilled workmanship and the certified experience through a central web-based online database. So Sri Lanka, they have adopted this National Skills Passport, and I think Bangladesh has also followed them. So this is also one area which India can look into. Probably we can also develop this skill passport for our all those skilled workers. So developing skilled workforce is one. The policy framework is other, which we need to look into so that and close matching of skills supply to the needs of enterprises and labor markets. And a good quality primary, secondary education will also complement to all relevant vocational training and skills development. Our education system should also change. The students, they should be taught at least one language. Probably they can focus on one language, and the whole thing can actually not only the education system, but the vocational training center should also look at how they can create this international standard, not only in education, but on the skills which are developed at various vocational training centers. And working women and men can periodically need opportunities to update their skills and learn new ones. Lifelong learning for lifelong employability captures the guiding policy principles here. So I'll stop here, and I'll once again thank ICM for providing me this opportunity. So over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. While I agree with many of the points that you touched upon, one aspect where I would like you to reflect further, perhaps in the Q&A, is the whole question of qualification mismatch and how sort of FICCI can help the government endeavors in bridging that gap of skills mismatch. And another aspect that perhaps you can look at from the perspective of your interaction with employers is what is their perception of employing from the northern parts of the country, which sectors are more in demand, and what has been their experience. So perhaps you can come back on those two aspects in your intervention later. We can move on to our next speaker for the day, Mr. Karan Sharma. Mr. Karan Sharma is director at Qatar Manpower Agency based in New Delhi. The agency specializes in recruiting workforce for the GCC, European, and African market. Mr. Sharma is an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and an active advocate for human rights, labor welfare, standards, and procedures. He has completed his schooling from New Delhi and his higher education from the US. He has completed his bachelor's in business with an emphasis on HR and marketing, and his master's is in international commerce and policy. Over to you, Mr. Sharma.
All, I would like to thank ICM for having me, Dr. Notial, Shri Sanjeev Kumarji, Dr. Singh, my fellow speakers, Mr. Francis, Dr. Singh, Professor Srivastava. Thank you for having me. Today we are here to discuss a topic that is the need of the hour. Our government and our ministry is already doing a great job, and we really appreciate their efforts. Just a while ago, I was reading something, with the present situation of the unfortunate incident that's happening in Ukraine and Russia, even though we don't have to discuss it here and it's not a point to discuss. But over the past couple of days, we feel, and I have seen this, is that something is changing in the European market, which on a government level, we will also have to look at, because we have around 700,000 people that are transferring over from a country that is, of course, war-ridden. which would hamper us in the future, maybe, as long as people are safe. That's the most important thing. But yeah, so that is something as well that will come into effect, I think, in the next couple of months for us. So coming back to the topic, it's great to see that the world as well understands that, the skills-based hiring is the need of the hour instead of just using degree as a proxy. Our biggest goal right now should be interoperability, which can only be achieved through government interaction. So, like you said as well in the beginning, Dr. Surbi, that, country-wise mapping. We need to go to every country. We need to figure out high skills, high wage, high demand occupations. All of this with intensive market research, coming out with documents that are outlining key principles, emerging practices to guide the implementation of skills for success, reflecting how our government has commitments to create and update our training programs, resources, and assessment materials to facilitate training participation of vulnerable groups. Young people who are not in employment, education, or training are at risk of becoming socially excluded with a low income and lacking the skills to improve their economic situation. We need to get word out to the masses about which projects are available. We have to include RAs. We can have newsletters like from concerned authorities that are giving us information out regarding, like we have the Japan, Portugal, France, all of these different things that we have to, have information coming in from newsletters or everything, so we can get the exact information, which will help, to build the capacity of stakeholders to serve the population accordingly. Secondly, we need cooperation from organizations like FICCI. We have, God bless, we have FICCI, sort of a model, where we have like APEDA, which is the agricultural and processed food products thing, where they give out special financial schemes or funding programs where we can go out and do market research for new markets, come back and share this information with the government, with the concerned authorities, so we can get all of this information together and then maybe run trial programs to try to see how our workforce adapts to the local market. Then comes the point of certification. We are all talking about international certification. Dr. Kaura is talking amazing about having this skill development thing in Punjab, which is amazing and which we've always thought of is very important. But, we also need to have a minimum joint certification standard. This joint certification standard should be finalized usually in B2B or G2G meetings. Okay, we want to take over their certifications, but we can also take our NSQF levels international and have them accept our certifications as well. Everybody is still working on the old international certifications, but if we have a chance, we should take our certification levels abroad as well. The strong G2G meetings could help that. The level of skills which we use in India are different than all over the world, and we should aim for a middle point for our skill set to meet the demands abroad. That doesn't mean that we want them to go lower, but at the same time, we can find a place where we are supporting our people as well. At the same time, we are able to get the job done for them. Of course, when we require specialized training people like welders or something like that, we need to give them special training, but we can always come together and find projects and find training centers to take care of that. Next is the language. Language is one of the biggest barriers, and we need government support in that as well. We can have programs where instead of doing the test or exams here, we can have on-the-job language training. Our embassies abroad can definitely support in this as well. Like Japan with their language test, I mean, a well-educated person might take years to even learn basic Japanese and to pass the test. But, maybe if we had a program where the person goes there and then as per the job, on-the-job training with the work, they can get knowledge of the language as well, and their working knowledge will increase. So yeah, that's one of the things regarding language. Another project which the government is already doing and which is very impressive is the Swades program. I think it was started in June 2020, the skilled workers arrival database, because that started around the same time when there was a lot of people coming back due to COVID, due to all of these things. So I think the data is a gold mine. I think all the data is going to MSDE. So now this data is a gold mine. We have around 50, 60, 70,000 people, like last I checked, that are already registered on here. This data should also be shared with us. We don't have the data, because this is the people that have already been abroad, that understand the skills that are required abroad. So, and when we have demands, when we have requirements, when we have things, we can give it to them. We can use these people because they already understand the market. So, also we can use them for training other people, or we can give them for the retraining to, increase their salary, their economic situation, their skill set. So something that we could do with like already existing programs that we can offer. Next, for me, is to increase industry participation and ownership. This is one of the major weaknesses in our skill development and mapping system. The vast majority of firms are small and medium size, and their investment in training is insufficient, as they lack the required resources, or they have a short planning horizon. On the other hand, the public training sector, they often have supply oriented. They are often supply oriented, but they have very weak demand links. So if we allow more private ownership, training becomes an integral part of the company's core service provision. So unfortunately, most of the firms do not have a well-established training system. So because of that, I think, if we have more people that come in, and the skill centers are probably rented out project-wise or privatized to some extent, that can also help in finding what we need as per demands from the international market. So, we can do that. There was a very important and good point that Mr. Arvind put in about, the national skill passports. This is something that is really something that was also on my agenda that I was going to talk about, and I'm glad somebody brought it up, because yes, Sri Lanka has really done it, and they have really pushed forward and made it happen. That with these passports, it just becomes easier for everybody to just know who you are and where we can use you. So with different skills and different categories of people, this can be an amazing thing. Next, we need to, in the northern region especially, we need to focus on different sectors. We need to really push forward for healthcare, for hospitality, for IT. There's a lot of new projects coming up. There's a lot of new things coming up. So, I mean, these sectors, like healthcare sector, has not been very prominent in the north, but we should definitely look at this. Dr. Kaura was talking about how nurses take 2 years to get to the UK, and half of them don't even get there. So, exactly, I agree that, we have to really get some more skills, some trainings, and some more institutes in the northern region to work towards healthcare division. And so, like, overall, I just want to say that, we have to get together into building a system of just interoperability where everybody's connected to each other. We have like a job portal, or we have something where everybody's just talking about whatever is required, and it just goes onto the system. The demands can come in from companies. The ministry can contact the people there. We as recruitment agents can contact the people there. The people from Sudwes, whoever are coming back, can register there. And it's just one big joint portal where everybody has all the information that is required. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Some important points you made about dissemination of information about the various agreements that the ministry is signing, the whole aspect of joint certification, how we need to move from old certification standards to new certification standards, the importance of language. In the case of Japan, while under the SSW scheme, language is an important component to get that visa. But perhaps in the other areas, we can explore something like an apprenticeship training program where people learn the skill as well as the language. So those are some very important points. Our last speaker was unable to join due to some exigency. So we now have floor open for discussion. So if there are any questions from the floor, we can take them now. Perhaps to just start the discussion, in the meantime, I'll have my 2 points. I had already raised a few points to Mr. Francis. Perhaps Mr. Cora can come back and talk a little bit more about how, once the study is complete, this model is sought to be implemented in Punjab, if there are preliminary thoughts that he has. And apart from Canada and UK, as you mentioned, that training is being developed in alignment with these countries, which other countries Punjab is looking forward to collaborate? Dr. Cora, I can begin from you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Surbi. If you look at, as I mentioned, we need to develop a system, because currently, as I think speakers have already mentioned, there are many things going on in our country. We have Ministry of Skill Development running skill programs. State level missions are also running programs. We have technical universities, so many programs are being run. But if we look at the outcome, today, how many of our young people moving abroad in a systematic manner? That's a point of discussion, because we need to evolve a model wherein there is a proper system wherein they can move and they know the outcome. Currently, as I said, now in Punjab, nurses is one of the area, healthcare. Now we have been getting demand from Germany, UK, Singapore, even for that matter, Australia, Canada. They are the preferred, destination for our young people, and also the demands are pouring on to our state, because we have opened our, doors, and we have also started conducting them. We have a special cell coordinating with these, countries. So now the point here is the model. What they say, that train people, they should have a skills, everything. But we say, as a supply chain, if they need people, they'll have to come forward, sit with us, and let us start something here, build a model around it, and then we will build our capacity around it. So coming back to your point, if you look at here, we are targeting all the major European countries, Canada, US, they are also preferred destination, along with GCC countries, and they are focus sectors. We are going for it. And the point here is, we want, first is that entire ecosystem currently prevalent in the state, be it our technical institutions, be it our colleges, producing the young workforce for our own country and for the overseas. We want a sizable number should go abroad, because that is one area where, that outward remittances and inward remittances are very important for the state. So what we are doing with this model, as I said, one is that we just open a center, we try, and then see the impact. Like, as I said, IISCs were launched, and then there was a revision in the model. What we want, the current model as well as the proposed model should be tested, as I said, different scientific tools, and we want to launch it. So, but we have done the pilot, and the pilot is, showing a good results by having a close tie-up with the country of destination. So Canada with Punjab, province of Alberta has signed up with Punjab, and they are sending us the requirement. First is the requirement. The model is what? They have sent that we need so many welders, so many nurses. They have categorized the sectors. And then the Canadian High Commission is facilitating the good training agencies which will come here and train people in the first phase. And certification agencies, international certification agencies, are skilling or certifying the people. So that is how we are trying to build a supply chain in Punjab, for overseas market, trying to reduce more student going for study visa. The large number is going for study visa. We want to reduce that number because ultimate aim of the youth is to get a job there. So we want them to study here, do get required skills, language skills, whatever they needed. At the end of the day, they should go there, be our brand ambassador, be productive right on the day one. So that's the thought process with which Canada we have started working, UK we have started working, and very soon we will be targeting, rest of the country, Germany, Australia. We are already doing it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. Francis, your thoughts on the 2 points that I had made.
See, one is you talked about how FICCI can basically help in bridging the gap that is between the academia and the industry and the skill bodies. So what FICCI can do, and it's also working, within India, but we also can look into going beyond the boundaries, is one is basically to create an environment to promote industry academia engagement through hub and spoke model. The best of the industry and the best of the university can be at the hub and as a tier 1, and all the tier 2 and tier 3 can be at the spoke model. And the best practices and benchmarking not the best practices only, but the international best standards can be benchmarked from these tier 1 to the tier 2 and tier 3 university. And so that is basically creating that environment. We can help in that. Second is we can also customize the capacity building program with the training partners. And the third area that we can look into is to basically engage the industry to upgrade the course curriculum of universities and make it more industry relevant. And we can also focus in also creating these skill sets which is actually which is relevant to the industry of international standards. So FICCI can work in these 3 areas basically to bridge that gap.
Thank you so much for bringing those 3 points. We'll certainly take note and work with FICCI more in this direction on bridging the capabilities and capacities in the area of skill development. I see that Professor Srivastav has joined. Professor Srivastav? Yes. Sorry, Sita, are you there?
Can I just come on with FICCI because the continuation of the dialogue? Can I?
Right, you can go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, thanks. So just also in link to FICCI and to Arvind, actually, one of the things that is quite critical for us to actually understand in India is what the employers really need. And being a chambers of commerce, which actually has ties with other chambers of commerce around the world through various partnerships, I think one of the things that might be really useful would be to have such fora where we can have employers from destination actually share the skill sets that they're looking at as well as the professions, because I think that's something that is really critical to understand. And this can be done perhaps through an agency like you, because it just helps to, understand better the needs that are there in another country. And also just to, add to that is the role that actually the private recruitment plays in this, because I think there is the possibility to speed things up. And I know that you have a process and you can have skilling, but you can actually speed movement up. And I'm sure everybody sitting in this room understands that migration is sticky. So you've got to open the channels first. Once you open them, things start moving faster. So even while we're looking at certifications and some of what Dr. Kaura was saying, I think it's quite critical that we start moving people, because that's what actually builds those pathways in a way. And for that, employers meeting and private sector with you. So the recruiters were able to fast track movements, because they can tap into a resource of returnees or whatever it might be. Maybe a way to also think of moving forward, because I'm looking at the markets, and I've of course spent some years looking at Europe now, but even if I just look back at the work in Europe and I'm tracking that often, I find that it's quite interesting that we have suddenly got an upsurge of Bangladesh signing contracts with European countries, and we have some of this happening. Nepal is having movements. So I'm wondering why we are not, as India, able to pick that up. And it may be because we are still trying to look at the much more systematic route, of course, of having the skills, having the agreements, and then moving forward. But migration sometimes works the other way around. So you actually have the stream moving, you have migration happening, and you start working in parallel on some of the skilling, on some of the certifications. So something for FICCI to perhaps take back, and maybe with ICM to actually have employers meets maybe, and look at whether movement can actually begin even while you work on streamlining, skilling, and certifications and things like that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sita, for bringing that very important thing. And I think during my deliberation also, I mentioned that what industry associations and chambers can play is, one is, of course, leveraging the collaboration with the overseas industry associations and Indian manpower companies. So once there is a MOU which is signed between the two governments, probably the two chambers from the origin and the destination country, they can also come have a sort of MOU wherein they can lay down basically what you said, that what are the employees wanting. So probably so that it can be clear in the origin country also, okay, what is actually the destination country is looking for. And if that is clear, then probably we can, whatever efforts that we are putting in creating that ecosystem, we can, it will help us to basically align all those things to the requirements of the destination country.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. We have a question in the chat box for Mr. Kaura. There's a question that they are a training institute for nurses. They are the leaders in training of nurses. And as Punjab has mentioned that there is an interest in sending nurses, they are asking how can we take this forward if they want to train the nurses, about the requirement for training companies. So perhaps you can come on that, Dr. Kaura.
Definitely, we would welcome any initiative. Please get in touch with our office. I will just now put my email ID, my office ID, so that you can just send your proposal. We will invite you for a further discussion. We are looking for a support from all of you. Please come forward. As I said, we are very fast in execution. Like just now, Sita mentioned about kind of a dialogue with the foreign employers. We are already, planning to have one round of discussion with the foreign employer. Not only the employer, also we are looking forward for the ambassadors, and the High Commissioner to be there, because the role of High Commissioner is very important, so that they can facilitate the visa. Visa is a key. Whatever we do here, while we were testing our model, what we found, everything is there, language is there, certification is there, even job is there. But if visa is declined, what will happen? So wonderful inputs came from British High Commission. They said, let us do pre-visa compliance. Before you start training, a candidate first entry point should be a pre-visa compliance. They should be first taken through compliance, and then based on that, our training system should be, started. So for these nurses, definitely, and for other sectors, we welcome. So I'm mentioning writing my email ID, so that we can get the proposal and we will immediately get back to you on it.
Thank you, Dr. Kaura. Before I see that Mr. Sharma also wants to intervene, but it would be unfair on my part to not let Aarti speak. So Aarti, if she has made great efforts to join despite the exigency. So Aarti, you have 5 minutes if you can briefly make the points.
Yeah, so thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interact with you all. I will speak from an educationist perspective. Is that we see that technology will be the major mover and shaker, in which the new robotics, genetics, artificial intelligence, and all will set the pace for the new labor market. Now, when we look at all this, and this is going to touch us across grids, of home, work, tourism, everywhere. So, we need to be really, really discerning, because now there'll be a occupational shifts, upskilling, this thing, and this will be because we are undergoing through a demographic bulge. So, we have the Generation Z, which has different completely lifestyles, where they are more akin to video learning, they are more akin to the ecosystems and all that. So this is a different generation that we're talking about. So from the demand side, it's the industry that is changing. From the supply side, it's the generation that is changing. So the interface of traditional education probably will soon not be, it will be redundant. And what we will see is that a new kind of structure, where the interface between workforce, education, employment, where disruption in skills will also lead to skill stability. So these kind of skills, and we will have to align it to the labor market within India and outside India. So multinationals will be the macro change makers, where they will set the road for some local people to supply, to feed into the ecosystem. Also, they will also support the ecosystem for entrepreneurship. So it is industry 4.0, which is leading the change with technology, but also other people joining in to create a new system. So now what we are looking at is talent platforms like LinkedIn, which will take care of the there'll be similar platforms. So they'll be they'll be taking care of the new supply side, where they'll be updating the skills, and they will be recording the updated skills and all, and feeding them to the labor market. So the labor market itself will be not the traditional labor market, under the economic growth of first agriculture, then industry, and then the service sector. It's going to be an amalgamation of skills, an agglomeration of skills, where all the three will be intertwined along with the service sector, and massive, so for the aging population, it is going to be a whole scale upskilling. For Generation Z, it's going to be, a normal ecosystem. And for people who are already in the service, it will be a feature of, a lot of training, and training also, to align to the labor market. So these are some of the things that I wanted to highlight. I have already shared my PPT. Hopefully that can be shared with you all also. So that's some snapshot that I want to give you about labor market from an educationist perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aarti, for joining us despite the challenges that you faced. Now, before I give the floor back to Mr. Sharma, Professor Srivastav spoke about the demand side. But as someone who is heading a recruitment company, I want to ask you for your views. How do we match up the supply side to the demand side? We always talk of the demand, aggregation of the demand, getting the demand from the destination country. But what about building a skilled skilled workforce here that we have. How about matching that with that demand? Your thoughts on that, adding to the views that you were going to share.
No, I was just going to agree with Dr. Kora that the biggest problem that we have is the visa. We end up doing everything, the work permits come in, everything gets approved, they have a job, they have everything, and at the end of the day, visa nahi hai, because people do not get the visa. So, that is of course something that we might also have to work at, regarding trying to just make sure that when we are putting in all the hard work, we are finding all these people that they actually end up getting a visa. So yeah, I agree with him. That's only I wanted to agree with him on that point, that this is one of the biggest points that we always face is the visa. Now coming to your question, Ji, regarding that the skill set that we already have and matching them to the demands, I think that's how we survive. This is the biggest way how we survive, is always looking at our data bank of what we have and what we are trying to sell to the market, and then accordingly trying to match it always. Yes, when we talk about Europe, when we talk about the GCC, it's a different ballgame, because GCC now, everybody in India knows the Gulf market. Everybody in India understands what is required for the Gulf market. We only face these issues when it comes to the European markets, because European markets, they require a special skill set. So like you are having meetings in the northern part and in the western part, we also kind of try to figure it out, that which part of the area we have to go for which people. And this is exactly what my point was regarding, like, why don't we try to bring in more IT or more healthcare in the north? Because that would, of course, be something that, and already he's answered and he's already informed that, we are already working on it. But when we try to match skill sets with the demands abroad, I think that's how we survive. This is actually the biggest point. And even I think it was Sita that was talking about just going through with it, just land on your feet running. That's how we do it, is we just go for it and then try to see where it matches and if there are any issues or how it can be sorted out. Pilot programs, always.
What I meant, Mr. Sharma, was that as a recruiter, you would definitely match when you're sending people abroad, but there's so much of untapped potential of skilled manpower, and how do we move in that direction? But that is a thought. I have more questions in the chat box, and they are addressed to the panel. So there's a question from Professor Rupa Chanda. She's asking, are we looking at aligning with and leveraging ongoing programs like Mahatma Gandhi National Fellowship, where fellows are selected in select districts to identify the possibilities for skilling and employment creation, with solely a domestic focus at present, but having scope for an external market orientation as well? District skill development plans are being developed and priority sectors are being identified, but only looking at district-specific potential. How about using these schemes for overseas employment-related skilling? Additionally, there is another question, the issue of return and reintegration and recognition of skills and experience of those who acquire these skills overseas. That needs more thought. And we have questions from one of the sending organizations involved under TITP. The question is, for sending the candidates, 6 to 12 months of training in language is required along with the skill set. For this native language trainers, interpreters, translators, marketing people in Japan are required, which incur a lot of costs without any help from the government. As a result, we have to ask the candidate to pay the training and TITP costs before going to Japan. No loan facilities are available. Can something be done? So those are the questions, and I'm giving the floor back to the panel to
And
address them.
Surabhi, can I come in? This is Sanjay. I've had my hand up for a while.
Sorry,
So
Sanjay.
if you allow me
please go
pitch
ahead.
in, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Surabhi, ICM, and all panelists. I especially found the presentation by Dr. Sandeep extremely heartening. I'm Sanjay Awasthi. I am representing International Organization for Migration, IOM UN Migration, and based in New Delhi. And I just wanted to highlight a research study that we are undertaking in partnership with ICM and MEA, holistically looking at the elderly caregiving sector across Europe. And we have had very intensive conversations and consultations with a wide variety of stakeholders across Europe, and also based on the suggestions provided by the embassies in India, we went out to talk to those stakeholders, and which would hopefully give us a fairly good snapshot in terms of the emerging opportunities as well as challenges for Indian workers in the elderly caregiving sector. And then perhaps that may also fit in very well with the initiative which the government of Punjab is taking in a similar area. So yeah, that's what not a question, but just an information. Thank you.
Sanjay,
And last but not the least, one of the things which I would like to underline is a constant emphasis on ethical recruitment. Because if we lay a proper emphasis on critical aspects of ethical recruitment, then we would be laying a very strong foundation for regular migration. Thank you.
I noticed that Bhaskar also has his hand up. Dr. Bhaskar, do you have any question?
This is not a question. Hi Surabhi. Nice to meet you here. Hello everyone. This is Bhaskar. I'm the team lead for International Migration Center, Karnataka, an initiative of Government of Karnataka. Now, with regard to the point that you have raised, I mean, I think Professor Rupachandra, I think, asked about the role of MGNF and how they can be used in the district level. With respect to Karnataka, I can confidently say the IMCK has been using MGNFs on the ground, not only with regard to various skilling related activities, but also to promote our international migration center related activities. They have been very active in coordinating with our district level stakeholders in creating and establishing overseas employment pathways. Just to clarify, I know this to Professor Rupachandra.
Professor Srivastav, you have any point? I see your hand raised as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the research study is a very good idea, and I think we should have many more research studies with taking as what is the need assessment of people in a particular continent or in a particular country, and train our youth with those kind of skills. I think that would be really pertinent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll now give the floor back to Dr. Kaura to share some of his insights on the questions asked.
Yeah, Surbhi, I think what Srivastava just now mentioned, studies are very important, and I would request Mr. Avasthi also to get in touch with us. And as I said, now we are not in a position to test the water again and again because we are a large country. So we have to have a very strong model of skilling and migration. And particularly relating to, and I just want to quote an incident here. You all must be aware about students struck in Montreal, Canada. There are about 2,100 students who have been affected due to closure of 3 colleges. 3 Canadian colleges, 2,100 from India, out of which 90% are from Punjab and some are from Gujarat. And if you look at, they have paid lot of money, to the tune of each person about 35 lakh. And today they are in a situation where colleges have declared themselves as insolvent. Now, what is required here, that youth want to go abroad. That's for sure. Be it our state, Punjab, or be it other state. That is where we need to evolve a model. And I could see one question here that Western countries gets a lot of revenue, like in the tuition fee. So that is where Punjab government has already framed a policy that now we have 300 Canadian colleges and universities come to Punjab for admission. Now what we are planning is to have a model that they'll have to route through a process of getting approval from us. Then they can take admission from the students from Punjab. So that point, and they have to, for our skilling initiative also, we are asking them to the state, country to country, as I said, to contribute to the cost of training also. So one point which you did mention about the district level, I just want to mention here, you would all have heard about employment exchanges. You know, they are there in our country. And employment exchanges are, I mean, when, you know, we had, you know, we went to the employment exchanges, you would have seen old people or broken infrastructure. If you come to Punjab now, we have renamed it as called District Bureau for Employment and Enterprise, DBEs. And the district level headed by a district magistrate as a CEO, and the deputy CEO is from the industry, you know, hired for managing the DBEs operations. So now if you go to our employment exchange renamed as DBE, you will find professionally qualified people managing the employment side. So at there, even we are involving these fellows also to be with us, and you know, to build an ecosystem for domestic employment and for the overseas employment. So what is more important here, as of now, what I feel, that with all the questions and with all the input coming, that we have to shake hand. You know, if Punjab is doing something and we are doing, let's, FICCI can come forward. As I said, you know, Qatar Management, you know, Manpower Agency can come forward. We welcome you all. And let us build an ecosystem together. And what Sita said, you know, let us start something. And we have already started. And in due course of time, we are going to build a model around it, so that there should be a systematic model of going abroad. Students should not pay high cost for migration. There should be less risk. As I said, now 2100 students stuck in Montreal, high risk. They have mortgaged their lands, and today they are not able to get the desired results. And we have seen Ukraine also, you know, people are there. So what we need to do is we need to evolve a model so that we know the exact number of students going abroad, and there should be a control measures available with the government of state government and the government of India. And that's where Punjab government has already taken a lead. We have framed a policy for managing foreign universities coming to Punjab for admission of the candidate for their universities. They'll have to route through a process, and we will have some control over it, so that tomorrow if any such incident happen, we will be there to support the candidates. So that's how we are taking many initiatives, and we welcome the stakeholders who are present here. And I would definitely particularly request ICEM and you know, the IOM, and you know, they are doing wonderful studies. Let us join hand, come to Punjab, let us do a state specific work and help us in designing this robust model for skilling the youth, and then we may replicate in other part of the country, you know, so that youth can move easily to the foreign countries. Yeah, that's all from my side.
Thank you, Dr. Kaura. I can definitely say from ICM side that we would definitely be interested in coming to Punjab and taking many of these ideas forward. I now move to our next speaker, Mr. Francis. Mr. Francis, you have any thoughts on the various issues we discussed or remarks by fellow panelists?
I think most of it is already discussed. Nothing to add to it.
Okay. Mr. Sharma, any last thoughts?
It's just an amazing forum, and thank you so much for having me. It's great to interact with all the people and try to get our points across and try to listen to everybody. Let's just hope we can all get together, like Dr. Kaura said. Let's get together, join hands, and let's hope for the best. Let's just go ahead with it. That's the only point. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you indeed. And taking forward from where Dr. Kaura left, that we all need to shake hands. I think the whole idea behind organizing these discussions by ICM is to bring various stakeholders together and sort of interact and learn from each other, and take many of our initiatives that we are individually taking and see how we can collaborate and move at a greater speed in the direction of skill development, in facilitating overseas employment, various studies that we have been undertaking. So that's the whole idea behind this discussion. And I'm really thankful to all the panelists who joined us today, Dr. Kaura for his fantastic presentation on the various initiatives that the government of Punjab has taken, Mr. Francis for bringing out the role that FICCI can play in bridging the gap in skilling initiatives, and to you, Mr. Sharma, about talking about from the perspective of an employer, and Dr. Aarti Srivastav, who took great pains to join us for this meeting. So thank you all. And last but not the least, thanks to all the people who made this discussion vibrant, all our fellow attendees of these meeting. A big thank you to all of you. Before we close, we would like to take a virtual snap. So I would request all of you to please turn on your cameras so that we can take a group picture.